The deal is this. Tell you, when I was a kid, I read Dropper Anton Wilson and all this real. Tell you, when I was a kid, I read Dropper Anton Wilson and all this real. Yeah, I'm pissed. Yeah, I'm pissed. Come on. What? Okay, by the time we finish this, you're all going to be practicing magicians.
I'm Jeremy Greer.
And I'm Gary Butterfield.
And this is Days of Future Cast, the podcast where Gary and I are going issue by issue through Grant Morrison's new X-Men run. This is the podcast on issue 121. We have wrapped up Germ-Free Generation. The U-Men's attack on the school has failed. Emma has freed herself and Cyclops and a disembodied mutant brain named Martha from the hands of John Sublime. Martha killing John Sublime in the process. And as a big reveal, cliffhanger at the end, Beast has figured out that Cassandra Nova imprisoned Xavier in her decaying body.
Yep. And this is, we'll probably be the shortest episode of this podcast because of what we tend to talk about. This is the Nuff Said issue, which was a weird early 2000s gimmick that Marvel did where every regularly produced comic came out with no or almost no dialogue.
Yes.
It was an experiment to just kind of see what that would work. I remember I was getting comics at the time. And it was immensely unsatisfying because I read through everything in 2 seconds. I just kind of flipped through and everyone I think there's cool things to do it. I think this is one of the better Nuff Said issues that I've read, but there's also, it is fun to kind of set back and triply enjoy the art. Very little ends up happening. And they just go so quick, that it ended up feeling like not a good experiment. And that's maybe why they have not done it. They've only done it once in their whole history.
Yeah.
To me, I don't know. I don't think we've talked about this. I've always been pretty lukewarm on the Nuff Said stuff.
I've only read a couple of them. I think there was a Spider-Man and a Daredevil that I read that was the Nuff Said.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember liking the Daredevil a whole lot. I don't remember anything about the Spider-Man. But this one I like, and it's really just strictly because of the art. It just we're back
beautiful.
We're back to Quietly, and he just does an amazing job with this trip through the psychic plane, which Gary and I are usually absolutely fucking cannot stand. And this works in a real kind of goopy, great, ugly kind of way that is really, really cool. And
it's awesome. The art is beautiful.
Yes.
It takes a couple minutes to read. It's very quick.
Mm-hmm.
And the plot stuff that happens here is important, but one thing happens.
Yeah.
In terms of plot, it has some details that add to characterization of these characters, but it doesn't add anything to the characterization. These characters, nothing is revealed because you kind of couldn't, it wasn't. So it ends up being a beautiful artifact in that there are many panels in which I would love to have original art from this, and I could reading it again for this. I actually tended to skip it in my rereads or just skim it really quick. Actually taking a close look at it this time, there's a lot to enjoy about the art. But a lot of times for comics, I am a real writing first person in comics, and I tend to really, in stories, I gravitate towards dialogue in general. So it ends up having kind of limited value, even though it is very beautiful and cool looking.
Yeah. And I think that's fine. I think just by the way that you're talking, I think I may be a little bit more positive on this than you are. I really enjoy it's definitely a gimmick. But it's Jean Grey looking back and shushing Cyclops and Wolverine because they're about to do this psychic thing to go into Cassandra Nova's mind and find Xavier there is just it's just full of small details that I really, really enjoy. But you're right, it's going to be an extremely short issue because we can't really talk about dialogue, and there's very like, even though it's full of details and it's cool, there's only so many times you can be like, oh, this is really pretty. Like, believe me, I did a Cowboy Bebop podcast. There's only so many ways you can say this animation is really pretty and smooth.
As a reminder for the people listening to this, podcasts are an audio medium. So just it's really hard to present. Like, if we were doing a PowerPoint about this run, it'd be really easy to talk about this. As is, it's significantly more difficult.
It's pretty difficult to do. I would try to paint you a word picture as we go, but you can just like buy the issue for like a couple of bucks and just see the picture, and it worked a lot better. I promise.
It works so much better than what we're gonna do.
Pictures are almost always better than word pictures in my experience.
Yeah, I agreed. Like, you really paint me a word picture. Yeah, but have you seen an image? Fuck that shit. Like, I love Stephen King. He can really paint a word picture. Yeah, but images though? Have you seen a photograph?
Yeah,
they're awesome.
Have you seen a picture of Stephen King?
yeah, he's got a weird fucking mouth. He looks like a York Horty drawing.
There's one picture of Stephen King that's scarier than like anything that he ever wrote.
Anything he's ever done.
Yeah.
This guy's aging weird.
So we start off. It's Jean Grey, Cyclops, Wolverine, and Emma Frost. Jean and Emma are going into Cassandra Nova / Xavier's mind. For some reason, I don't know what the shirt thing that Wolverine is wearing is. Can you zoom in on that for me, Gary, and just see like this
collar around his neck?
No, but like
he's just been working out.
Look in that first panel. He's got like there's sleeveless shirts, and then there's shirts that turn into suspender.
Oh, you're right. He's kind of got like a unitard under his pants.
Yeah,
on his back, and a towel around his neck.
Yeah,
I think it's supposed to be like workout clothes.
What are you doing, Wolverine?
It's pretty weird. I like how short he's being drawn, though.
Yes.
He's on model. It's good to see Wolverine again.
We're back on model. Weird tie Wolverine has left the building, everybody. They go in and, Jean starts kneeling down before this weird, Cassandra Nova body that they've got in this weird mechanical harness. And, of course, Emma has to, like, take a sip from her flask before they do this. And it's down to psychic plane time.
Mm-hmm. And the way that Quitely generally does the psychic plane is my favorite psychic plane stuff. I think the psychic plane should be trippy, in general. And this is extremely trippy and psychedelic.
Yes.
This panel of this swirling bit of mixes of Jean Grey and Xavier's head swirling inwards as she enters his head. Mm-hmm. Has like shades of like Escher to it. And the inside of the brain is a Dark Souls level. So you might be very surprised by the Dark Souls vibes of this comic.
Dude, I never really thought about that until just now, but you were absolutely fucking right. Like this
it's the Dark Souls thing that's been in this, like in X-Men.
This page where you see the tower coming out of the weird pink water and the green background, like that's straight up fucking out of Bloodborne or like Dark Souls or some shit. God,
even the doors with the faces on them.
Oh, they fucking Elden Ring.
Oh yeah, when you get up close to that, it would attack you.
Elden Ring, come out already. I need you in my life, Elden Ring. Elden Ring, where are you?
That's the alternative voiceover for the trailer. Elden Ring, where are you?
I'm going to get the lore hunter to record that and just put it up on his YouTube site and see how many people... Like, I'll do the audio. You put it together to video, just release it. I'm just like, every second of the trailer. I'm sure Sin and Richie have already done that, actually. I know they did like a 40-minute analysis of that trailer at some point. But
so they're down here, they're both in there, and they're kind of speaking to each other with emojis here. And basically they decide to split up.
Yeah.
They're trying to find Charles Xavier. It takes because there's no dialogue and you're so used to exposition, it is kind of an interesting experience reading this because you have to trying to figure out exactly what's going on is a little bit trickier just because, words are crutches to stories. But basically the idea is Emma Frost is going to try to get in through these Cassandra Nova doors in the tower, and Jean Grey is going to try to check out the tower, the other tower that's across the lake.
Yeah. There's going to be a lot of instances of this like emoji use, and I kind of feel like it's a cop-out. Like your whole gimmick is to be silent, and then you've got these characters using what is literal, like a written language, even though it's supposed to represent a psychic language. I know that. Don't at me. But I just feel like it's used as a communicative crutch, and I thought, like, to me, and I'm not like a purist about fucking Nuff Said Month or anything, like I don't give a shit. But like if you're gonna make a whole gimmick around no dialogue, like don't write fucking dialogue like this.
Yeah.
Like I feel like the idea is to communicate what is happening through art alone and not to have any exposition or dialogue, and then you put a fucking question mark in the frame.
it's a cop out. There's literal dialogue in the last page as well,
which is fine.
I think
that's fine.
I think it just serves the story better that this happens.
Mm-hmm.
Like I as somebody who's less invested in Nuff Said Month. Nuff Said Month is not our Land Bridges 2.0. Like we're neither of us are invested in it. I just think that this makes the story a little bit better.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and I care more about the arc of this than I do the gimmick, I think. I know I'm not saying you don't. I'm just saying for me, like, it is a cop out. If they just started talking to each other, I probably would like the comic better.
Yeah.
So,
Absolutely.
You know?
Yeah. Like, don't get me wrong. If they were literal fucking dialogue cartoon bubbles, like they were there with them talking, I would this comic would be better for it, I believe.
Yeah. The gimmick does not serve the comic.
Yeah. And it's undercut, like the gimmick is undercut because you have like Emma Frost like pointing with a Citadel Tower emoji with a question mark and like a checkbox beside Jean, which is basically the dialogue, but not actual fucking human language. Yeah.
So you end up getting kind of neither. You don't get the fully developed story with the characterization and stuff that we want, and you're not getting the gimmick.
100%.
So it ends up kind of being this succeeds in spite of the gimmick by rejecting the gimmick. And that's kind of what I feel like was the best you could hope for with Nuff Said Month.
And just to like cut off something that I've seen people say online before and everything, I understand fully like how a comic book script works, and that it's a writer is writing these frames and describing these frames for an artist to draw, and that is a collaborative effort. Like I know a writer doesn't just write dialogue. Like,
oh yeah.
So just to cut off that, like, well, what actually comic books are, and I'm like, yeah, I know, I'm good. Yeah, but this is just a weird in between.
We're not idiots. Yeah, like something to remember before you at me about anything is I'm not a fucking moron. Please, I understand things to a degree. I'm almost 40. Like I've read comics most of my life. Like I know that about comics. It's just shorthand.
I think
it's shorthand. Like when you say like there's not writing in it. We just mean dialogue, and we're not using the right word, but we're speaking extemporaneously and quickly. So. There's some imprecise language.
You think Apple would let me get away with calling this podcast something to remember before you at me is that I'm not a fucking moron?
Probably.
Episode 93. I mean, like, if you can have a podcast called Come Town, I assume that the word fuck is not a problem.
Oh, probably.
Anyway.
So they basically split up. Here's, there's some cool imagery. The faces on the doors zap Emma Frost, but she turns into Diamond. It's cute. There's a little diamond emoji next to her. And she attempts to just kind of push through while Jean Grey creates a psychic bridge to go across to the tower. Really nice little touch. Her hair turns into a phoenix.
Yeah, I like that a lot.
For us, like that's really cool looking. And basically for like a couple pages, they're just going to the goal.
Yeah.
Like,
I do
not a whole lot.
At the top of this tower in the middle of this like psychic water or whatever, like the how it's crowned with like Xavier / Cassandra Nova faces with the weird bluey like I'm using my telepathic ability eyes. I think that's like again Dark Souls as fuck, right? Like super cool.
Oh, totally. That Tower of Eyes. It's already like a Dark Souls thing. So they zap her bridge. She falls down into the water, has to swim out. The faces are spitting goo at Emma Frost.
Which is probably somebody's fetish.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Spitting goo at Emma Frost is already. You can't make that a title. Like,
yeah, we don't want to step on any toes.
Yeah. When she gets into the tower where Xavier is being held, this is probably my favorite frame.
Yeah.
In the book, is Xavier looks like a little scene MTV show called The Head.
Oh, dude, I love The Head. Yeah.
Yeah, man.
I love The Head. Fucking Liquid Television. You remember when they tried to bring back Liquid Television? It was all fucking terrible. Yeah.
There was a time and a place for it, folks.
And it was when I was 12 and kind of horny for that chicken Aeon Flux.
Exactly. When Aeon Flux, when I was like, what if there was a woman with spider legs that could literally wrap her thighs around my entire body, like the Christ figure from Blasphemous, wrapped around the cross. Like,
I am 13 and that rules.
Yeah, everything about this is sexy, and Beavis and Butthead killing frogs is so good. I'm 13. Bring me the brothers grunt.
Someone tweeted something the other day. I don't remember where I saw this, but it was like Beavis is Butthead's son or something, and I just took a minute. Was like, excuse me, wait a minute, what?
What was it?
That Beavis is Butthead's son, and it's not real. I think it was just a joke. It just broke my brain for a little bit.
Oh yeah. That's a classic. I love that so much. Like, I think there was like somebody a couple years ago where like post a controversial but true thing or something. It's like Beavis is Butthead's son.
Perfect.
Yeah, I love Beavis is Butthead's son.
But to describe Xavier,
he's chained down in the middle of this floor. Again, Dark Souls as hell. His head is gigantic. He's got this big, huge brain. He's got his head in his hands, and he's kind of surrounded by like fetish gear stuff, like these naked mannequins with gas masks and leather on them, and then like children's drawings and stuff. It is a nice little, and 2 crutches at the top of his broken apart cerebro, like wings. It's a really beautiful image.
There's a weird like telepathic spermy guy in a jar in front of him, which is super weird. There's like children's drawings of family, like obviously his mom and dad and stuff like that. It's a weird and extremely striking image.
Yeah. And at first I thought the jar was the snow globe that she picks up, but it looks different. It's got a different shape. So the jar is never really explained, which I love.
Oh, yeah.
Again, it's Dark Souls as hell.
Yeah, it's just a jar, man. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, sometimes the jar is just a jar. Jean Grey picks up the snow globe, and the snow in the snow globe are actually sperms. And there's a very funny, like, look in Xavier's eyes. I know that's not what he's doing. You know, he's happy to see Jean. But if you think about her picking up this jar full of cum and him making those eyes at her, it's pretty good. And now she's in the cumiverse. Like, they're showing the conception of Xavier. This is his parents. And showing his dad, the fruit of his dad's balls, going to his mom's fruit of the womb.
So, you know how weirdly uncomfortable it is when people talk about, like I've been in a conversation where my father-in-law has told me, like, oh, I remember conceiving your wife. You know what I'm saying? Like, I remember specifically the moment, like, there was apparently a football game or something. I don't know what was going on. I try to tune it out immediately as possible. This is a level beyond that, right? Like, this is not hearing about it. Like, this is seeing there's fucking semen go into the egg. Is there anybody in your life that you have met personally that you would want to see this moment of? Because no, right? Like, no, you're not this close with anybody.
There's not even anyone personally. Like, I don't even really want to see it for Xavier. I mean, the way kids are born is gross. I like when the fetuses get all angry. Like, that's one of my favorite little, like, really high quality art in this. But, like, I don't know, the way that babies are conceived is disgusting to me.
Yes.
You know, both sides of it. It's not like a lady negative thing. It's also cum is gross. I just don't like the science of reproduction.
No, not at all.
Which is why I had my balls disabled.
So you could continue to talk about it for the rest of your life.
Yeah, totally, on podcast for money. So like, yeah. But yeah, this whole I don't want to see this of anybody from anybody at all. There's that classic Patton Oswalt bit where he was talking about the Star Wars prequels and how it's shitty that they just kind of explain the origins of everything. And he was just saying, like, when you're jerking off to Angelina Jolie, you don't want to talk about John Voight's ballsack.
Sure, yeah,
you know,
absolutely.
Like, you don't want to know the origin of things.
Yeah.
You know?
Also, don't let your in-laws tell you about how they conceived your partner. Like, that's just conceived your partner. Like, concepted is a totally different thing.
No
that's
one should talk about concepting people.
Yeah.
You know?
or conceiving, for that matter.
Yeah, and also, like, I always think whenever someone talks about the conception, it's like, you guys don't have sex very often if you can pinpoint it down to the time.
I've always thought that. Like, that's really strange, right? Like, I know exactly the moment that I put this inside of you because it's the only time that I put this inside of you.
Yeah, it had to have been like a couple weeks apart.
Yeah.
Like, you're having sex at best like once or twice a month if you can nail the conception like that. And it's just like, well, man, you know, if you want to come from loving parents,
or
especially you don't want to think about your parents fucking all the time, like it's probably healthier if they do.
Or your partner has like a detailed spreadsheet about like the times that you were ovulating, right? Like that's the other thing that could be happening.
Yeah. like myperiodfriend.calendar.app.
I
like 1982.
I hooked up with a friend of a friend's girlfriend one time. This is years and years and years ago, and I didn't know at the time that she was cheating on her boyfriend. I didn't know that I was the other in this relationship.
Sure.
But found out shortly after we had hooked up, and as she started talking about her boyfriend, and I was like, "So is this guy?" And she's like, "Yeah, but you know, don't worry about it. It's on the outs. Like he keeps track of my orgasms, but he's not very good at giving me orgasms. So like the spreadsheet is basically empty." And I just
whoa,
God damn,
holy shit.
Oh shit!
Oh, what a goddamn weirdo!
I mean, I was like, "What?" I just had so many questions. I was like,
"Is it shuts down your brain?"
I mean, just like
what?
I
think if somebody said that, it's like telling a robot this statement is a lie. Like I think, like, just imagine being told that like right before you nut.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. What do I do with that?
Is that a full or a half or a 3/4? Like, I need to know what column I'm going to put this on today's date. You know.
Good Lord.
And then, of
Imagine
course, after she
tracking
tells
that.
me that, I have to like shut down Excel and turn off the laptop. So
Just like,
I was just menu planning, baby. Don't worry about it.
yeah, baby. No, I can't. I just use Open Office for my orgasm tracking.
Of course. Fucking Linux nerds. Terrible at giving orgasms. Great at open source software. Oh, wait, they're not that good at open source software either.
Yeah. Oh, man. That's amazing.
Oh,
Look,
dude.
don't worry. He tracks my orgasms, but it's not.
Yeah.
Don't worry.
Don't worry. Why was I worried?
Like, it's so good. Fuck, dude.
That dude tried to like confront me later at some bar. It was like, I heard you've been messing with my girl, and I'm like, I don't know who you are. Who have I met you before?
I also heard that you track her orgasms on a Microsoft Excel spreadsheet,
Yeah.
and it's mostly empty. So I think that if we're choosing who heard what about whom, I win.
I know, definitely. You don't know any weird facts about me, so.
Oh,
shit.
good Lord.
So we go through
That's incredible.
a couple of pages of Xavier being conceived, and what comes out are not one but two babies, and one baby immediately, and one of my favorite frames in anything ever,
The punch?
punches the other baby in the mouth.
It's so good. There's a bunch of angry fetus content in this like, couple
good.
issues that's really good.
I didn't know I was so into angry fetus content until I started playing
Yep.
Binding of Isaac a lot. But man, this is definitely like the point, right? Like was incepted in my mind a long time ago.
So the Cassandra Nova one, which is the one on the right, presumably because the one on the left gets powers,
Yes.
starts strangling the other one with an umbilical cord, who then flashes her with light, like the lighthouse, like blast her with lights from her face. And we cut over to Xavier's mom, who is on the stairs and like has light coming out of her and falls down the stairs.
Yes. Because she's like what looks like to be 8 or 9 months pregnant. So
yeah. The snow globe, when you look at it, instead of little sperms, it's like little black like ashes.
Mhm.
So maybe the presumption is, I can't remember. I don't think Xavier's mom died in childbirth or anything, but the presumption being that something bad happened there. And she tosses the snow globe aside to help Xavier at this point. And then there's kind of like an unclear panel. Like she basically dissolves the tower, is how I read this.
Mm-hmm.
It happens really quickly. She just says hi to Xavier. Xavier is just looking at her. And then it shows the tower a little closer, and then Phoenix floating in a bunch of rubble.
Yeah. Kind of unclear, like what is actually happening here. Because like it's one thing to have seen this, but like, you know, all of our experience with Xavier trying to help people through their mental bullshit is like it's a process. You have to build walls, you have to hide parents, like you have to go through this whole thing. Whereas the Phoenix seems to be able to just to come in and like, oh, this citadel you've built for yourself, I'm just going to dissolve it, and then you're going to be okay for a little while after.
Yeah. It's basically you just play a Demon Souls level and then you're good.
Yeah, exactly.
So go to Latria, that fixes people's brains.
Kill the false idol.
Yeah, exactly.
That'll get you access to Xavier's brain.
Exactly.
Make sure you pick up the grindstone that you're going to need for the blacksmith in level 2.
We go back to Emma, who's struggling. All this goo is all over that's forming like alphabet soup letters, which then Jean Grey rearranges to say, "Hello, Emma. Thanks for the help." Just because Jean Grey took care of it, Emma Frost didn't. Emma Frost is petulant about this. They go to the beach where Giant Brain Xavier is washed up, and this is the psychic rescue has happened.
Yes.
We switch back to Logan and Scott. Scott's got some headphones on. Logan's reading a little book.
What's
they come out.
What's Scott listening to right here, you think? What podcast? Like
Coldplay.
Coldplay. Okay. I was thinking like hardcore history or
Oh, sure. That could be it. Tactics Monthly.
Probably like some survivalist bullshit, you know.
Yeah, the Art of War on audio tape.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But then Jean Grey and Emma Frost come out. Jean Grey says, Professor X tried to kill his twin sister while they are both inside, still in the womb. We ought to talk.
Yep.
And that is the end of the issue.
And that's it. If you have enjoyed this podcast, you can show us that you have done so by donating to patreon.com/Duckfeed.tv. If you're listening to this on the, I'm not going to keep doing that because we've already done that. If you're listening to this on the public feed, Merry Christmas, because it's December 25th when this comes out. And thank you for listening. I think that's the most important thing.
Yeah, we appreciate it. Ratings, reviews are appreciated, and we appreciate the support in general.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, all of that stuff is good. Thank you very much. We'll be back in a couple of days with more new X-Men.